Welcome to Lost Relation Chronicles.
I am Henry Blackwood, the only child of wealthy, snobbish, and overachieving parents who never let me forget I was a disappointment. Despite being a straight-A student, graduating third out of over 400 classmates wasn't enough to meet their sky-high expectations. They saw me as a failure because I wasn't valedictorian. My achievements never seemed to measure up. I tried out for varsity sports but only managed to earn 4 junior varsity letters, the first student to do so. Even as a near-scratch golfer and a tennis player who regularly beat my father, my efforts didn't matter because those weren't varsity sports at our school. My father never missed an opportunity to call me a chicken and a disappointment. My choice to work after school and earn my own money instead of relying on my parents' wealth was another source of contention. I was a computer whiz and had a knack for programming, designing educational software and single-player shooter games that made me a multimillionaire by 25. Still, my parents dismissed me as unfeeling and antisocial because I avoided their pretentious social circle, only setting foot in the country club to play sports or under duress. My high school dating life was equally disheartening. The girls from the country club were only interested in my family's wealth, not me. The ones from school usually ghosted me after a date or two. For a while, it seemed I couldn't connect with anyone, not even the gold diggers. Except for Clara Gray. Clara, a junior when I was a senior, was different. She was smart, beautiful, and had a smile that could make you forget everything else. Unlike anyone else, Clara decided I was the one. She came from a family even wealthier than mine and moved between the country club world and school life with ease. She was everything I thought I could never have. As I said, Clara decided that I was the one. In early January of my senior year, she asked me to the Valentine's Day dance. That dance had a tradition of the girl asking the guy, and if he wasn't in a relationship, he was expected to accept. I wasn't, and I did. It was a first for me. I was a disappointment to my parents when I didn't ask for money for my date. I had already sold 2 lucrative programs to an educational software company. I bought a brand new F-150 Super Cab pickup, and that furthered their disappointment. It wasn't a luxury auto. It didn't matter that it cost more than my dad's new Beamer. Clara was thrilled with my pickup. She told me it rode better than her dad's Caddy. She especially liked the fact that I got the bench seat with the fold-down armrest. It was never folded down when she was in the truck. The dance was the start of a 9-year on-again and off-again mating ritual. Clara and I were inseparable the rest of that year, and through the summer. We spent every weekend together, and she was my prom date. A whole lot of jaws at school dropped when the students realized that the awkward nerd had the prettiest and most popular girl in school on his arm. She knew I was going to be going to college, and so when August came around, she asked that we take a break because I wouldn't be able to come home every weekend. Confused by this, I asked her, "Where do you think I am going to go to college?" She said had never asked and told me she had no idea. Even with that broad hint and her response, she didn't ask, so I did not enlighten her. I told her it was her decision, but if we were to take a break, we should make it permanent as I must not be someone worth waiting for. She looked down at the ground and quietly said, "That's not what I meant. I felt that with you in college, and I still have my senior year in high school to do, that we would be apart more than we would be together." Then she looked me in the eyes. "I want to enjoy my senior year, and you won't be here for it. Okay, I am sorry to disappoint you that I won't be spending another year with you. I love you, but if you feel we need the break, we will break. However, if you feel we need the break, you need to understand that we will not be getting back together until that's right, I decide the break is over if it ever is. Now do you want a break?" "Yes," was all she said. I paid for the dinner we never ate and took her home. I had received full-ride scholarship offers to MIT, Case Western, University of Chicago, and the U of M. I went to the University of Michigan and turned my scholarship back so someone who was equally deserving but needed resources could come. I chose U of M because I wouldn't have to be too far from home, and their computer programs were more in line with what I wanted to study. When I got there, I found that most of the students and teachers did not feel a successful programmer was a disappointment. I also found that other than when I was studying, I could always find a group of people to hang out with. Studying came first, and with my course load, I was not an every-night partier. I made it home 5 out of every 6 weekends. I also discovered the joy of sex, and ended up with several, 3, casual relationship that I enjoyed immensely and often. The girls all knew each other, and they all knew that it was only friends. As I said, I was able to go back home almost every weekend. Clara wasted no time in replacing me. I saw her at the first of the high school sports events that I attended with a new boy. Every time I was in town, I saw that she always was with a boy, or man, if a high school student can be called a man. I was often with a girl from school as we were only a 20-minute drive from my home. Clara didn't look too happy whenever I showed up with a date. I even went to the homecoming dance. My date for that night was Sally Raymer. She had been in my class, and also had a scholarship to U of M. Unknown to Clara, and to almost everyone else, Sally was and is an in-the-closet lesbian. I knew it, and it didn't matter. She was a fun girl and a great date, albeit without sex. I was home for Christmas break when my mother, the same one that thought I was such a disappointment, decided to try to intervene between Clara and I. She invited Clara to a couple of dinners with the family. I was not impolite, but I made a point to find a seat away from Clara and did not start any conversations with her. I answered any questions she asked me with as short an answer as I could. Mom was pissed and told me so. So the day after Christmas I returned to campus. Classes didn't start for another week, and I didn't care. I knew what I was to them at home, and I could do nothing to change their minds. But I didn't have to have it shoved in my face anymore. I finally went home for the first time since that incident during spring break my sophomore year. I went home for 2 reasons. My mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and I was not one to go to Florida or Arizona for my breaks. Mother was told she only had a few months to live, and she wanted to mend fences with me. Henry, she never called me Henry. I want you to know that I am sorry for the treatment we gave you when you were growing up. Your father decided that by seeming to be unsatisfied with your achievements, you would work harder. Unfortunately, it worked, and it also became easy for us to continue the ridicule. You were the son we didn't deserve. You were a high-achieving, caring boy who tried too hard to please his stupid, hurtful parents. I want you to know that when you stormed out of the house last year at Christmas and not talking to us until I called 2 weeks ago caused me to think of what we did to you. I'm sorry, and if I could turn back time, I would be a more involved, caring, and loving mother. Then she proceeded to tell me about the huge fight with my father because of her change of heart. She had filed for a divorce and discovered, from Dad, in one of his rants, of his being a long-term affair with one of his male employees. She then told me of his being discovered by one of the other employees, and when confronted he quit and left town. She hadn't heard from him for over 2 months. When it all settled down, Mother told me that all of their assets except my father's 401k and a small insurance settlement were hers, and when she died it was coming to me. I know it shouldn't have, but that pissed me off. I'm supposed to suddenly become a model son because your money is supposed to make up for the hurtful comments and put-downs I had to endure. I tried and tried to make you and Father proud of me. I made my first million while I was in high school. Take your money and put it where the sun doesn't shine. I stormed out of the house and did something I swore I would never do again. I cried for my mother, for myself, and for all the hurts that were now right in front of me again. I temporarily withdrew from school with the assurance that as soon as my family problems were finished I could and would return. I stayed with Mother until she died. It wasn't a few months, it was only 6 weeks. At the funeral, Clara came up to me and asked to talk. I couldn't be as impolite as I wanted, so I very quietly asked, "Please go away, I don't need any more hurt today. The last time we talked, you tossed me to the side of the road like an empty candy wrapper. Please just leave me alone and go back to the latest boy or man or goat you are with this week." She reacted like I slapped her. She then turned and walked away. I didn't see her again until after Mom's lawyer told me I needed to be in his offices for the reading of Mom's will. He added that I was the only other affected heir that he had to inform before he gathered both of us for the reading. I wondered who the other one might be. I had a sinking feeling in my stomach that I knew, but I decided to wait until I was there to find out. At 9 o'clock Monday morning, 2 weeks after Mom was buried in the family plot, I was at the offices of Thomas Hardley, ESQ attorney at law. I walked in, and my worst speculations were confirmed. Clara was there as well. The will was read, and I got everything except a couple of signed paintings that Clara had expressed an appreciation for. The reproductions turned out to not be copies, but originals worth a good deal of money. The rest of the estate turned out to be much more than I thought, and Mother had put over $30 million in a trust fund for me to be mine when I was 25, married, or graduated from college. I was also given a separate annuity that was the equivalent of $1,500,000 a year for the rest of my college life. It would then be increased by the amount of money I earned each tax year. I was stunned. I looked at Clara. She looked very uncomfortable and like I had hurt her badly. I decided that it wouldn't kill me to try to make up for my angry words. "Clara," I started, "would you please have a coffee or dinner with me? I need to clear the air with you." "Please," I was hurtful and said things that were on my mind, but that did not need to be said. And definitely not in the way I said them at the funeral parlor. She just nodded and whispered, "When? How about as soon as I get out of here? I have some papers to sign and banking to do, but I should be done by 2:30. Why don't I call you and I will come by and pick you up, or we can meet at a place you choose." Okay, then she gave me her phone number. I finished my business with Mom's lawyer and put the first check in the bank. I had enough money on hand that I didn't take any out. I thought that I probably wouldn't for a couple of months. I called and met Clara at her house, and we went to a local coffee shop. Over coffee and a couple of cookies, we talked for a couple of hours. We made a lot of small talk. Then, after catching each other up and Clara apologizing for the 10th time, I said, "Clara, we would not be in this mess if you had only asked me where I was going to school before you wanted to break up. You wanting that break made me angry. I was home almost every weekend of your senior year. I would have gladly taken you to all the important events. I used Sally as a convenient date for homecoming and when I wanted to go somewhere, and she was available. Believe me, none of those ladies were taking your place." She then responded, "I knew as soon as I saw the hurt on your face I messed up. The guys you saw me with were all one and done. I couldn't find the next you. When your mother let me know of you going to the U of M, I knew that I really, really messed up. I'm so sorry, but I was so ashamed of what I had done that I couldn't try to make up with you. I was and still am angry that you threw me away, but I still shouldn't have gone off on you at the funeral home. I want you to know how much of a mistake that was, and am truly sorry. Now, before we get too far into our reunion, and now that you're going to college, are we still taking a break? Or have you decided I'm okay because I can entertain you on weekends?" "I don't know," she responded. "You said the break would last until you decided it was over. Is it over? Well, seeing as you are now in college, we won't be able to get together, and I want to enjoy my college time and have fun. So, no, it is not over," she angrily said. "But I'm going to the same school you are." That made me start to get angry all over again. So with some heat I responded, "Yes, and if you had asked where I was going to school, we would not be having the break in the first place. I am still angry that you decided for both of us that I was not going to be available." She got up and went to the ladies' room. I paid the bill and waited for her to come out. She didn't, and I saw a cab pull up in front, and she got into it. I guess I let my anger get to me again. I went back to school after only losing one semester. I completed all of the classes I withdrew from. I only saw Clara a couple of times, but that wasn't too unusual. There were over 25,000 students on campus at any one time. I graduated with a double major, a degree in computer science and another in secondary education. I didn't need the money, but I was not one to sit around, so teaching was my fallback position. I enjoyed it, and I did my student teaching at my old high school. I saw Clara occasionally in town and at some weekend events. She was now a college senior and would be graduating the following May. I hadn't talked to her in over 2 years and was not about to start again. I seemed to get angrier the more I thought of her, and neither of us deserved to have that happen again. Me because it bothers my conscience. Clara because I felt my actions toward her were hurtful. After I graduated, I came home and lived in the family home. I had rented it out for my remaining college time and had the lease set up so it was done when I left college. Well, the best laid plans. I wasn't keeping myself busy with my programming, and I had turned down all of the computer programming job offers I received since my senior year in college. So a year after I graduated, I checked, and my teaching certificate was still valid. I applied for a teaching position with all of the local school districts. I was offered a position at a charter academy, and while the salary was not the same as the public school teachers were paid, I took the job. I was assigned to teach classes in basic and advanced computer usage and beginning programming. The classes I was assigned to teach were not easy and required a strong math background, but they were surprisingly popular. Each class had an overflow of students, and the few that decided it wasn't for them and dropped the class before drop-it ended were replaced quickly. I didn't know it when I was hired, but Clara had applied and was hired as a new teacher the same year I started. Because she was on the staff, I couldn't totally avoid her. However, I did not make the first move. It was about 2 weeks into the new school year when she came into my classroom during my free hour and wanted to talk. I saw that she was very determined to talk, and I had really intended to talk to her. I just hadn't made the move. "Henry, I know that I walked away from you the last time we talked, but you kept getting angry, and I couldn't take your anger anymore. I know most of it was my fault, but it was a long time ago. Can't you accept that I'm sorry that I was a dumb teenager who messed up mightily and can't apologize enough? I am almost over the hurt, and I was going to try to talk with you, but I couldn't work up the nerve. I didn't want to bring back all of the anger, and I couldn't hurt you again." She asked, "Henry, is there a chance we can get back together, or at least start over? I think I would like to try. Can I take you to dinner with me Friday?" "I would like that." Well, we went to a dinner theater that was putting on a murder mystery. It was a great evening, and some of my old feelings came back. There were still questions in my mind, but I did not feel the anger anymore. We continued dating as often as Clara was available to me. To my dismay, she told me she was also dating a couple of the country club set. When she turned down a date with me for a third time in a row, I stopped calling or asking. Well, that wasn't the end either. Clara walked into my classroom during my free hour a little more than a month after I stopped calling and asking for dates. Okay, Henry, I know you're mad at me again. What did I do this time? Well, first, I am not mad at you. Second, you did not do anything wrong, but you turned me down for dates enough times in a row that I decided that I didn't need the humiliation. Third, I have decided that I will not be one of many. If you go out with me, it will be me only. It will be us, you and me exclusively. Now do you understand? She turned and silently walked out of the room. The school year plodded on and was 3/4 over when I got a call from Nora, Clara's mother, on a Saturday night late. Henry, I know this is a lot to ask, but could you come by my house and pick me up? The guy Clara went out with tonight got drunk and crashed his car with Clara in it. She is in the ER at Metropolitan Hospital, and they need me to sign some papers. I am so shook up that I don't trust myself to drive. Give me 15 minutes to get there, and I will take you and I will stay with you until you need to come home. I grabbed my tablet and picked her up. When we got to the hospital, I let Nora out and went and parked the truck. I walked into the ER waiting area and opened the tablet to SOL to read a couple of just plain Bob stories. A short time later, Nora came out and asked me to go in and see Clara. Why should I go in and see her? She has caused me more pain than the loss of my mother. I will stay here. I will not go back there. If you insist, I will get in my car and you can Uber home. My God, she really did a number on you, didn't she? Not once, but 3 times. Okay, but when the doctors finish with her cast, they are discharging her. Luckily, she only has a green stick fracture of her forearm. I will be waiting right here. When they both returned, Clara tried to say something, but I held up my hand and said, the only reason I am here is because your mother asked. I like her one hell of a lot more than you right now. I am taking you home, but if you say one word to me, I will put you out and you can walk. Nod your head if you understand. She nodded. The drive was the quietest drive I have ever taken with passengers in my cars. When we got to their house, I kissed Nora on the cheek and left. Nope, the story doesn't end there either. Clara was back at school the following Tuesday. She avoided me like I had an infectious disease. That was fine with me. Then Murphy decided that I hadn't been played with enough. Clara was walking past my classroom between classes a couple of weeks after the accident, and one of the students ran into her, and she crashed into the doorframe to my classroom. The door broke and it flew off, and Clara tried to catch her fall with the broken arm. Well, that obviously didn't end well. Her cast protected her forearm and wrist, but not her elbow. Luckily, she did not break it, but it was dislocated. I ran over to her and picked her up. I gently cradled her arm and had one of the students from my incoming class run to the admin office and call for an ambulance. Well, the ambulances were all tied up with a multi-car, multi-injury accident on the freeway. I told the principal that I was going to take Clara to the ER and that I sent my class to the auditorium to work on any homework from their classes. I advised him that he should do the same for Clara's class. When we got to the ER, it was bedlam. The staff doctor at least gave Clara a shot for her pain, but we had to wait almost 4 hours before she was looked at. She actually went asleep leaning on my shoulder. The elbow was reset, but now she was in a cast to her shoulder, as it was her writing and dominate hand. She needed assistance for most of her normal activities. I volunteered to assist when I wasn't working, and Clara's mother took over daytime duties. As the initial cast had been on for a few weeks, and the elbow was only being stabilized, we only had to help for 3 weeks or so. Her class was covered and she actually received workers' comp for the elbow because she couldn't drive, and I still lived in the family home. I drove Clara to and from school and to any appointments when I was available. We patched things up, but did not go beyond civil for the rest of that school year. There were no dates, and she didn't ask about that. When summer came, I took several CE credit seminars and a class in advanced programming for a language that isn't really emphasized much, but is the basis for all computer work, machine language. So I was busy and not distracted by Clara. When school started up again, Clara came to me during the first week and thanked me again for the assistance that I gave her the last year. Then she decided to confront the elephant in the room. Henry, are we going to get back together again? Why would you think we could? You keep walking away when I tell you my feelings. You walked away when I asked for exclusivity, and if I can't have that, there will be no back together. I care for you. Normal people don't get deeply angry at people they care little about. I will tell you my feelings on getting back together. We can begin again, but if you turn down a request for a date or go out with another man, I will never speak to you again. You know me well enough to know I mean that. I know that occasionally family, health, business, and work can get in the way, but if you turn down a date, you need to explain why to me. One lie, and we are done permanently. I can't take the hurt again. Well, she started to get angry, so I held up my hand in a stop motion. I am as serious as a heart attack. You have managed to get into my life several times, and every time you either hurt me, lied to me, or ignored me. Do you deny that? She looked deeply hurt. No, I know I can't deny any of that. I was stupid and insensitive about your feelings. I used you as a safe backup other than in high school. Well, I won't be a backup. If you want me to be that person, I will get out of your life. Okay, can I have a couple of days to think about it? I really care for you, and even if I didn't show it, I relied on you. I just don't know if I can be the person you want me to be. Clara, remember, you chose me way back in high school. You asked for the first date. You asked for the college break. You decided to turn me down for several dates. I am now setting my requirements. If you can't live within those, please tell me now, not 2 days, not 2 hours now. Okay, I can't live with those rules. I guess we will not be getting back together. Then she left and went on her way. I expected the response. In fact, after I thought about it, I encouraged the response because the demands I placed I would not have accepted. I decided that I would complete this school year and then leave the school. I informed the principal and told him to look for a replacement or adjust his class curriculum for the next school year. He was not happy, but he thanked me for the advanced warning. I started looking for another teaching position within the area. It took most of the rest of that school year before I found a position with a school district in the next county, and it only increased my commute by 5 minutes because I would be driving in the opposite direction of prevailing traffic. I did not let any of the staff except the administrator of the new position. I asked him to not tell anyone of the change. Somehow, word got out that I was leaving. Clara came up to me one afternoon after classes and asked, "Henry, why did you decide to leave this school? Please tell me it isn't because of me." "I'm sorry, Clara. It is all because of you. I hurt every day I see you, and as you chose not to accede to my conditions, I am not with the woman I love and have since my senior year of high school. I have decided that if I don't see you, maybe I can heal. I am not sure, but that is my hope." "What do you mean love me? I have done nothing but hurt you. I did not do it deliberately, but I did it. I wouldn't still be hurting if I no longer had strong feelings for you. I wouldn't get angry if I didn't care. I know you thought you were doing what was right for you, but it wasn't right for me. I am hoping that until I heal, I will not see you again. I am asking that you please not contact me except in an emergency. I guess that I am trying to make the break you wanted permanent." Clara had tears running down her cheeks and just nodded and left. It turned out that once that school year was over, I would not see her again for almost a year. I didn't talk to her for nearly 18 months. Apparently the school I was going to be working at did not leak out. Other than a farewell party that the staff gave me, I just packed up my personal gear and walked out the door at the end of the school schedule. I gave some thought to selling the house, but I was comfortable there, and there would be opportunities to sell again. During the summer, Dad came home to visit. When I opened the door and saw him standing there, I just closed and locked the door. I never heard from him directly again, but he messed with my life a few more times. I never did find out why he thought he could come back into my life after the way he had always treated me before. I wrote and sold several additional programs over that summer. I still had not touched any of the money from my mother. I was doing well teaching when the principal of my new school told me the school was dropping all of the elective computer classes the next school year, and I would not be asked to return. He blamed it on budget cuts. I was not hurting for money, and the school had signed a 3-year contract with me, so I got a golden parachute of sorts. During the summer, I was asked by one of my college friends, an FWB, to help her with a computer problem at her bridal shop. While I was fixing a minor software glitch, Clara came in to look at wedding gowns. I was in the office behind a one-way mirror. I guessed that I was being permanently replaced. The hurts all came back. I quickly compiled the program, exited the computer, and left out the back door. That weekend, Clara's engagement was announced in the local paper. She was marrying one of the country club set. I knew the guy. He was a sore loser at golf and was a ladies' man. I never heard of him dating the same girl more than twice. But then, Clara came from large amounts of money. The wedding was scheduled for 6 weeks after the date of that paper. They were getting married and holding the reception at the country club. I wondered what the rush was for and how they got the club opening. I was insulted when Clara, or her mother, sent me a wedding invitation. As it had an RSVP request, I did. Then I sent Clara's mother a letter. "Nora, I don't know if you sent the invitation to me by mistake or if Clara sent it to hurt me again, but it did hurt." I responded to the RSVP with a simple no. "If Clara should ask you why, tell her I have to wash my hair that day, and I have an emergency surgery scheduled for that night. Maybe then she will understand that I can't be involved in any way with her. I am not mad at you, and if you wish to stay in touch, but not talk about your daughter, I welcome that. I hope the a-hole she is marrying has changed his skirt-chasing ways, because I suspect he is after Clara's money. Henry. Well, someone got the message. The wedding got called off and a-hole declared bankruptcy. It seems that Nora insisted on a prenup and put Clara's money in a trust until she turned 35. A-hole called the whole thing off. I was in the supermarket a few months after the news broke when I saw Clara. I tried to get out without her seeing me, but I wasn't successful. She sort of cut me off at the pass. She was waiting at the registers when I went to check out. Henry, please let me have a few minutes. I want to talk to you. I need to talk to you. Well, the wedding invitation said all I ever want to hear from you. I saw you at the bridal shop, and that was enough hurt. Now that the wedding is off, you come to talk. No thank you. I really don't need the pain. I replied. I paid for my stuff, left the market, and never talked to Clara again. I put the family house on the market, sold it, and moved to Silicon Valley. After a few years in the land of fruits and nuts, I decided the hell with it. I moved back to my hometown and decided to write programs exclusively. Along the way, I found an assistant. She was a recent graduate from the local university. Lillian Hayes was a non-traditional student and was only a year younger than me. She had been widowed as a young bride, and after she lost her husband, she went back to college to finish her degree. We worked together for almost a year when an emotional undercurrent started to rear its head. I was becoming very attached to Lillian, and not just professionally. She was smart, cute, and easy to talk to. I was feeling romantic vibes from her and was not unhappy about it. I finally bit the bullet and asked her for a dinner date. She said, "It's about time you asked me. In another month I was going to ask you." Then she laughed and said, "Of course I will go on a date with you. What are we going to be doing in the meantime? I want the maximum face-to-face time." With that, I took her in my arms and kissed her. That's a real good start. I just want more. I gave her more love, more kisses, 3 kids, and she gave me a wonderful life. I guess in the end I wasn't a disappointment. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.